Blessed Thursday morning, everyone. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Today is April 28, 2022, Thursday, and hashtag Team LRC is back for a new set of learning sessions through our webinar series entitled Research is Life, How to Ace Your Research Paper. So, kumusta po ang bawat isa sa atin? Ramdam na natin ang init ng panahon, pero buti naman ay umulan. Kagabi kaya ay medyo nalamigan tayo. Pero sa init ng panahon natin ngayon ay huwag natin kalimutang uminom ng tubig at palaging mag-hydrate. At mag-iingat palagi sa ganitong klaseng panahon. Dito nga po sa Laguna ay ramdam na namin ang bigat ng trapiko sa dami na nagsiswimming sa mga resorts at sa mga pool upang labanan ng init ng panahon. Ngunit paalala palagi na palaging pa ring mag-iingat at sumunod sa ating mga health protocols dahil tayo ay nasa pandemya pa rin. And at the same time po, let me greet a happy 411th anniversary to the Pontifical and Royal University of Santo Tomas. So shout out po sa ating mga participants. I know we have a handful of participants coming from UST. So thank you very much for joining us today. So shout out po sa ating mga early birds ngayong umaga. Let's see. Let's read some of your greetings. Good morning kay Jessa C. Erhedor, watching from Ifugao State University. Sir Noel Manuel, always present from National Teachers College. Good morning po. Miss Mile Laguilles, watching from Camarines Norte State College. So Mary Jane Lopez, watching from San Pablo City, Laguna. Good morning po sa inyo. At ito na po ang ating mga students from Bautista National High School, Senior High School. Good morning sa inyo mga ate at kuya. Good morning po and thank you for joining us this Thursday morning. Kaya naman sa mga nakatutok na sa ating FB Live, magandang umaga and let us know kung saan po kayo nakatutok ngayon. Just comment them down below. Alright. So good morning po. Ito po ulit ang ating mga students from Bautista National High School. Good morning sa ating mga dear students from Cebu Technological University. Miss Johanna Ponce, good morning. Alright. So kung wala pa po dito ang inyong mga friendships, classmates, and colleagues, itag na po natin sila sa ating FB Live at i-share nyo na rin po ang ating video para sama-sama po tayong matuto sa umagang ito. As of this morning, we already have around 5,300 registered participants. So talagang full force at sama-sama tayong mga guro, mag-aaral at mga mananaliksik na lalaban para sa ating mga research papers, di ba? So sa ating mga graduating na scholars ng bayan para sa bayan, kapit lang po tayo at ating i-manifest at i-claim na ang hashtag Sablay 2022 QT. Di ba? Okay. So I hope on board na po tayong lahat. Time check. It's already 9:03 in the morning. Welcome to Research is Life, How to Ace Your Research Paper. So for this webinar series, our team, hashtag Team LRC, prepared 10 sessions for us to be fully appreciative about the value of research in our life as teachers, students, as well as to learn different tips and strategies on how we can further improve or ace our research paper. Especially for our students nga na currently ay inilalaban ang kanilang mga thesis at dissertation. I am Joshua Michael Jonas, University Research Associate of the UPLB Learning Resource Center, and yours truly will be our webinar's moderator. We are now on the 4th session entitled Put Your Grit and Wit to That Lit, Best Strategies in Literature Review. So today we'll be learning about ano nga ba ang review of related literature? What must it contain? And our speaker will be sharing some essential tips and strategies on how we can properly construct this literature review. As we know, ang literature review ng ating research ay hindi basta-basta lamang because it should be one of the most substantial components of our research paper. And we'll be knowing why in a few. So kaya naman talagang dapat ibigay natin ang ating grit and wit para sa ating lit review. Alright, so just a few friendly reminders for our webinars. Number 1, at all times, please keep your comments helpful and considerate to the speaker, moderator, and to your fellow participants. Second, if you have questions, feel free to write them down below our comment section and make sure that they are relevant for the topic this morning. And lastly, Please do not forget to answer the evaluation form after the session to secure your e-certificate of appreciation, okay? Or e-certificate of attendance, rather. But please take note that the deadline of responses is only until 10 p.m. tonight. So for those who will not be able to join us today because you have an equally important matters to attend to, don't worry, you can always watch the replay of our sessions on our Facebook page. We now have around 93,300 strong followers. So parang after every session, dumadami po ang aming followers at kami po ay lubos na nagpapasalamat sa Team LRC sa inyo pong suporta sa aming mga programa. Ito po yung nagsisilbing inspirasyon sa amin para ipagpatuloy po ang aming ginagawang paglilingkod. Likewise, you can also watch the recorded sessions on our YouTube channel. Just search UPLB Learning Resource Center on YouTube. So doon naman po sa aming YouTube channel, we have already 2.58K subscribers. So please continue to like, share, and subscribe, and also click the notification bell to keep you posted and updated with our videos. We'd also like to invite you to follow and connect with us on Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Malay nyo makita nyo ang bawat isa sa aming team members na may TikTok entry. So kindly use also for our webinar series ngayon, kindly use the official hashtag, which is hashtag #ResearchIsLife para mabilis nating makita ang lahat ng videos ng ating webinar series using that hashtag. At palagi nating i-push na research is life talaga. Okay, so moving forward, let's have a short energizer. So sa ating mga suki na ng ating webinars, alam niyo na po ang gagawin. Go to www.menti.com and kindly use the key code that you see on your screen, which is 69631754, and kindly answer the question that you see on your screen. So allow me to put it in the comment section as well, yung link na sa ating Mentimeter. Yan. Okay. And let's have a quick energizer about our topic this morning. So allow me to share my screen. Okay. So for our first question, in 1 to 3 words, how would you describe a good review of related literature? Ano nga ba, how do we, pag narinig ba natin ng RRL, ano ba yung pumapasok sa ating isipan? So we have here precise, good reference, coherent, not plagiarize, findings of study, credible, relevant studies, properly cited. So I think these are very good answers, no? Because it really, ako personally, ito din yung mga naiisip kong words pag naririnig ko ang salitang RRL, di ba? Usually, di ba, ito yung ito yung chapter 2. Tama ba, Sir JM? Na chapter 2 ng ating research papers usually after the chapter 1 na introduction, ng ating objective. So it will be followed by the review of related literature. So we can see here na talagang ang mga words sa ating word cloud ay reinforces the study, relevance of your study, shows signs of synthesis, specific to its point, concise and relevant. References are precise and credible. Exactly. Coherent, up to date. Yes, up to date, no? Kasi hanggat maaari we cite sources no na very hanggat maaari ay recent para at least up to date. Oh, yun nga. Or updated yung ating mga references. Specific, reliable, relevant, precise, acts as basis. Sige, paabutin natin ng 50 responses ang ating first question. Let's see, we already have 44. Reliable, reference, backbone of the study, cited, concise, ano pa ba? Sige, 45. Sige, perhaps we can proceed with our next question. So these are very good answers. No? So at least our speaker here in the Zoom space already has an idea of what are your ideas or what are your notions about an RRL, a good RRL to be exact. Okay, so let's move on to the next question, which is, which sources do you usually utilize, or ano ba yung mga sources na nire-refer nyo when you seek for information about a given topic. So, kunyari, biglang naisip mo, I want to know about, tawag dito, making an RRL. Yun, sige, making an RRL. So, which sources would you usually utilize or maximize when you seek information about a given topic? Not necessarily your research topic, but kunyari, you just really want to, alam mo yun, search more about a particular piece of information. Kunyari, paano bang election procedures ngayon natin dito sa Philippines? So which sources do you usually make use of? Physical sources ba? Example lang ating mga books, mga almanacs, encyclopedias, newspapers or magazines, online sources, sabi mo ating mga online journals, mga news sites, ang ating best friend na si Mr. Google, 'di ba? Or conversations. Yung ating we seek help, 'di ba, from our experts, ating mga mentors, or social media perhaps, or other sources. Let's see. So marami ay from our chart here in our Mentimeter, we can see that many are making use of online sources. So marami tayong online sources. No, we have online journals, we have yung ating mga websites or web pages ng ating mga organizations or mga scientists perhaps. So medyo konti na pala nagbabasa or nagre-refer sa ating physical sources or sa ating mga books. Well, especially ngayong pandemic na we couldn't visit yung ating physical library, so we have to resort sa online sources na. Pero as sa ating mga UPLB students ngayon joining us, take note that our university library is open to accommodate our students here in UPLB. Yan, so I think we already have a handful of responses in our Mentimeter. So thank you very much sa sumagot sa ating Mentimeter. So ang nakita natin dito sa poll or sa ating chart ay online sources ang usually ginagamit ng ating mga viewers or participants ngayong araw na ito. So thank you very much. So let me continue with our slide this morning. And I would like to invite you, everyone, our dear participants, to view, read, and share LRC's recent social media cards entitled #ThesisIt. So we are currently showcasing some of the best undergraduate theses in UPLB, wherein we are presenting the information about the students' research, the results, the significance of the study, and tips. We ask for tips from the author for sa kapwa niya mga estudyante who are pursuing their research this semester. So we already posted our second installment yesterday, and this is a study by Dr. Lahara of the College of Veterinary Medicine entitled Ultrasound Features of the Urogenital Organs of Healthy Male and Female Palawan Bear Cats. So his advisors were Doc Ems, Lastica Ternura. Hi, Doc Ems. Good morning. And Dean Jezzy Acorda of the CVM. So sabi niya dito, ang isa sa mga tips niya para sa mga students, sa ating mga students, and mga aspiring researchers is to exhaust all resources, especially those offered by UPLB. I would agree, no, kasi tamang-tama, we discussed last Tuesday with Doc Maan Ingwa, our university librarian, yung available programs and services offered by our library and the array of subscriptions that the university has in terms of journals or mga publications. So I agree with Dr. Lahara, no, na we should make use or maximize the use of these resources kasi ito yung makakatulong sa iyo sa inyong mga research studies. So thank you and padayon, Dr. Lahara, for sharing with us your fantastic research. So if you would like to read more about this study, kindly visit our Facebook page. Our social media cards is uploaded right now. Okay. So likewise, we would like to invite you. So full force tayo dito sa university sa mga webinar series about research. So we'd like to invite you to a webinar series by the UPLB Office for Institutional Development and Higher Education entitled Engaging Higher Education Institutions in Humanities and Social Science Research. So I believe it would start tomorrow, April 29, Friday, until May 13. So the first session tomorrow, I believe, is about Research in Literary and Cultural Studies, together with Dr. Lawrence Castillo. So let's take advantage of all these learning opportunities provided by the university. Okay, so let's now go to the main part of our session. So allow me to introduce to you our distinguished speaker for this morning. Cheeno Marlo M. Sayuno is an assistant professor of communication, research, and children's literature from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and an affiliate assistant professor of the MA Language and Literacy Education at the UP Open University. At present, he is also a PhD communication candidate at UP Diliman. He finished his BA Mass Communication degree, major in journalism, cum laude, at Cavite State University, and his MA Communication Arts degree at UP Los Baños. He has received recognition from the Carlos Palanca Memorial Awards and the Philippine Board on Books for Young People Salanga Prize, honorable mention, for his stories for children. He has published many storybooks as well as textbooks in communication, media, and related fields. For his accomplishments in research and creative work, he was also recently conferred the title of UP Artist 1 under the UP Arts Productivity System Award for 2019 to 2021. His research interests includes children's literature, child studies or transmedia studies, discourse analysis, and qualitative communication research. He has presented papers in conferences and is an active member of various national and international academic organizations in communication and children's literature. And he also published articles with the Plaridel, a Philippine Journal of Communication, Media and Society, the Philippine Communication Society Review, the Diliman Review, and the UPLB Journal, among others. He has also published a book chapter for the International LGBTQ+ Literature for Children and Young Adults, published by Anthem Press UK. Here to share with us best strategies in literature review, please welcome in the Zoom space, Dr. Cheeno Marlo M. Sayuno. Sir Cheeno, good morning po.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Sige po,
Let,
the floor po. Thank you, sir.
let me just share my screen. Ayan, good, habang naayos ko yung screen na wala kasi kanina. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending our session today. Definitely, learning about the literature review is on one hand very challenging, but also very helpful for everyone who is doing their research works at present, because I think, as we will learn later on, there is really value in appreciating the value of the literature review. Yeah. So for our session today, I'll be talking about best strategies in literature review in this series entitled Put Your Grit and Wit to That Date. Of course, I'm also very thankful to the UPLB LRC for this wonderful series of engagements, because these are very helpful to not only students from UPLB, but from many institutions, as we see from the attendees that today. So of course, thesis writing is not an easy task, and I know we have for students in the undergraduate level, you are encountering this and will be encountering this if you're still not yet in your fourth year. And for graduate students, for young professionals, we have been through this. And if you're graduate students in the MA and the PhD levels, by choice, you chose to go through this daunting task yet again. It's not an easy task, but as people from the academy are always up for the challenge to contribute to the body of work in our respective fields, and research is a way for us to continue help in continuing the field. So For our discussion today, we'll talk about the research process, just a review of that, because definitely it has been already discussed in the previous sessions and will be discussed in the next months. But then we'll talk about the RRL specifically. We'll learn about searching for literature, how to write the RRL, and some tips and common errors in writing the literature review. So, of course, you're familiar with the thesis process. Ideally, you would have a thesis topic. You, the student, would propose possible topics of inquiry, and then your advisors and your thesis teachers, if you have them in your institution, would help you in choosing which one best fits your project. Sorry, marami na pong manok ng ganitong oras, kaya nagtitilaak na sila. And then if you're all set in the topic stage, sometimes some institutions would have topic proposals while others don't have. And then you go to the thesis proposal phase wherein you will write the first chapters. And these chapters will be different from in different institutions. For example, in some institutions, chapter 1 is the introduction, chapter 2 is the literature review, chapter 3 is the framework, and chapter 4 is the methodology. For others, chapter 1, ando na yung intro and RRL, pati framework, tapos methodology na. Yung iba naman, chapter 1 ay introduction and framework, chapter 2 ay RRL, chapter 3 methodology. Nonetheless, hanggang methodology yung proposal stage because the goal here is to help your advisor and your panel understand what you will do in the research. Siyempre, meron ulit siyang defense, tapos mag-data gathering kayo very smoothly, madaling kausapin yung mga taong involved sa research nyo, madaling makuha ang data, and then after that, you'll analyze your data, and then you'll write, and then you'll defend your paper successfully, and then hopefully you'll graduate because definitely thesis is the ultimate requirement to get a degree. So ideally, this is the scenario. But in actuality, many things happen in the thesis process. You have a topic, it gets rejected, you propose a new one, you get rejected in the thesis proposal stage, you'll have to revise, you have to redefend. In the data gathering process, you would realize that there are things that you have to change in terms of your objectives, your framework, your methodology. Sometimes when you're analyzing the data, you'll realize that you're actually not in the right direction. And then when you write, there's constant struggle on accomplishing the final output. There are many moments of self-doubt. Sometimes you would want to give up. Sometimes you feel that everything is overwhelming. And then ultimately, when you have overcome all these struggles, you'll reap the fruits of your labor through a graduation na mas na-appreciate mo ngayon because you've been through a lot of things. No? But the reason why we have a series of workshop webinars today is because we don't want you to go through the alternate route in research. No? So hopefully, this session and the many others would be able to help you in readying yourself in research. So how do we start the process? So yun nga, kagaya na bagay ko kanina, ang usual na perspective in research writing, you have a topic proposal wherein you decide on a topic based on your interests, based on the significance and relevance to the field. No, of course, when we're choosing a topic, we want the topic to be of personal interest to you. Kasi syempre, ikaw yung magre-research, kailangan this is something that you like. And even if this is an interest na parang very entertainment yung nature, palaging meron niyang research value. Depende na rin sa field mo, no? And of course, we want the topic to be of significance to the society and relevant siya dapat sa field. Kailangan ito ay nangangailangan pa ng more inquiry, no? And then you'll write the research problem and objectives based on the topic. Tapos syempre, minsan hingan ka na ng appealing na title. And then you'll write the proposal chapters, intro, literature review, framework, and methodology. Ito yung nakasanayan natin perspective, no, in doing research. But actually, I would like to propose another perspective. No? This is how I suggest you start your research. So first, you decide on an area of study. Instead of deciding on a topic, decide on an area. No? Pwedeng hindi pa naman sobrang focused yung topic mo. No? But still, kailangan siya of interest to you and to the field. No? And then, this is where we come in today. No? We read the literature. No? Before we do everything else, we have to read the literature first. No? We search of related literature from both seminal and contemporary published research. No? You have an area that you would like to study, and now you have to know what has been studied in this area. Kailangan pa ba akong mag-contribute dito? Marami na bang nagawa? Ano yung pwede kong idagdag? No? That way, you will be ready in conceptualizing your research direction. So based on what you have learned from the literature review, you draft now the research problem and objectives, you decide on the framework, and you choose appropriate methodology. Kasi actually, reading the literature would provide you with everything that you need to know. Sometimes, mapupulot mo na agad sa literature yung framework na pwede mo rin gamitin sa study mo. Sometimes, the literature would tell you the appropriate methodology. It's either nagamit na nila and appropriate sa study mo, or makikita mo na hala, meron pa palang methodology na hindi nagagamit. No? Diyan nag-start yung qualitative research sa fields ng psychology and nursing. No? Kasi yung mga previous perspectives dito sa very science-oriented courses and fields na ito ay quantitative talaga ang nature. Pero for example, in the case of nursing as a research area, they wanted to understand more their patients, and the way to do that is to provide a humanistic perspective in research. Kaya nakita sa mga previous studies sa lab, puro quantitative yung ginagawa. Why not try a qualitative approach to that? And what they did is essentially literature review. No, kaya for this session, I'm appealing that actually the literature review is one of the most important, if not the most important step in research, and also the first one. Ayan. So there are no shortcuts in research. No, yung ginagawa natin doon sa ating nakasanayan, actually shortcut siya kasi parang decided ka na on a topic without acknowledging ano na ba yung existing, and then you'll do the literature review for the sake of having something for the chapter, no? Instead of you really using the literature review as a source of refining your research direction, no? So yung pag-shortcut, it's very dangerous kasi dito nangyayari yung mga cases na biglang ay iba na nasa data gathering ka na, biglang ang dami mong kailangan baguhin kasi hindi ka nagbasa ng sapat. So in research writing is a rigorous task that requires grit, no? So kailangan talagang we persevere in our research endeavor, no? Kaya sabi ko kanina, wala siyang shortcut kasi pag nag-shortcut tayo, lalo lamang tayong nagdedelikado. At ang nangyayari sa atin, yung mga nag-shortcut sa research, ito yung mga cases na hindi nagiging maganda yung outputs o kaya kailangan mag-extend ng another semester, and we don't want that to happen. Research writing is a process of going to and fro the different parts of research, no? Kaya hindi siya as clearly as chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 in terms of parang conceptualizing your research. Kasi magpapabalik-balik ka. Kaya kailangan mag-start ka sa literature review kasi dito mo makukuha kung ano yung mga pwede mong aralin, ano yung mga framework at methodology mo. Tapos babalikan mo rin ang literature, babalik ka sa objectives, magre-revise ka ulit ng framework based on your decided methodology and so on. So do not be another tip lang din, no? Do not be disheartened if all of a sudden you have to change certain parts of the paper kahit natapos na kayo sa stage na yon, kasi the earlier you realize that you need to adjust something, the better. It's a way to understand oneself. Kasi nabanggit ko kanina, we want our research work to be of interest to us. And sometimes, it's an opportunity for us to understand ourselves more. Baka meron kayong mga personal struggles, baka meron kayong mga personal questions about yourself, about your experiences. Research yung way to understand it. Baka pag nag-research kayo about people with the same experience, maiintindihan nyo rin ang inyong sarili. And research writing is actually an argument that you carry from start to end. So, nandun rin naman tayo sa point na at the start of the research, it's an inquiry. Pero syempre, meron na tayong baon na argument. No? May gusto na tayong patunayan. Kaya nga siya thesis kasi meron kang thesis na dinadala, meron kang stand na gustong dalhin at i-prove. No? At kaya siya defense kasi you're trying to defend your argument. Ayan. So let's talk about the literature review. Literature reviews combine results of many different studies. No? Actually, minsan yung question kapag nagtuturo ng research, ilang literature po yung kailangan kong i-provide. No? Sometimes we give a number, pero actually you cannot put a number to the studies needed to complete a literature review. Kasi it really depends on the topic. Sometimes, some topics are really extensively researched already. So kailangan mo silang aralin talaga lahat. Or sometimes, merong mga research journals na literature review na sila. So pwedeng yun na yung basahin mo para lang din mas the journal article already did the work for you. Pero syempre hindi lang yun yung isa-cite mo, no? Pero kumbaga, yung ang dami-daming studies, meron na nag-compile, meron ka pang time to compile more, no? Yan. So, your task in writing the literature review is to combine the results of many different studies, no? We combine the results, no? We are not just reporting one after another. We're combining all these results. Literature reviews permit researchers to ask the broad questions, no? Doon sa ating chapter 1, we right away went for the actual topic, no? Syempre doon, meron tayong way din from parang contextualizing the research, pero ang pinag-uusapan na natin doon, yung actual topic natin, no? Tapos yung research problem and objectives natin, very focused na on what we want to accomplish for this specific project. Something feasible, of course, no? Sa literature review, it's an opportunity for us to go back to the broad questions, no? Pwede na tayong lumampas doon sa focus ng study natin kasi gusto natin siyang i-contextualize naman sa buong field, no? So nasa na yung ganitong klaseng pag-aaral sa lahat ng mga na-publish na materials, no? And syempre, we cannot ask the broad questions in the other parts of the paper kasi hindi na siya as feasible. Literature reviews are not mere presentation of literature but an analysis. Kagaya na nabanggit ko kanina, hindi lang ito, ang literature review, ito yung common practice lalo na pag halimbawa sa undergrad. Probably some of the advisors here or parang nagkikritik ng papers would experience, no, na parang ang style ng writing ay, in this study by this person, ito yung ginawa niya, ito yung results niya. In the next study, ganito naman ang ginawa. Pero actually, hindi siya ganon. Kasi pag ganon, parang annotated bibliography lang siya. It requires analysis. Ang task natin in the literature review is not only to report what has been done, but also be critical about it. Ano yung mga perspectives na baon ng bawat research na ito? Ano yung mga magkakasama na magkakapareho yung results? Ano yung mga bagay na kumontra sa mga results na ito? Ano yung mga kakulangan sa mga research na ito na pwede mong punan as the researcher? No? So we're analyzing. So akala natin, dun pa lang tayo sa chapter 4-5 mag-analyze. Pero actually, we're already analyzing in chapter 2 because we're analyzing para siyang textual analysis ng napakaraming material and then you'll categorize them into themes. Ayan, may tumatawag. So, what are the steps in literature review? No? So, ito ay mga bagay na pwede natin consider when we are in the literature review phase and we also want to do it religiously, no? I-on ko. So ano ba yung mga dapat nating gawin? Yung talagang gusto natin, maayos yung research natin, no? So first, decide on the kind of literature review that best fits your research paradigm and purposes for inquiry. No? So ano bang klaseng literature review yung gusto mong gawin? There are two types of literature review according to Roy Baumeister. The first one is the narrative review. Narrative reviews consist, wrong grammar, of providing qualitative descriptions of the results of many previous studies. No? Pag narrative review, kaya din nabanggit ko na parang kasama yung paradigmatic lens mo. Kasi parang kapag, syempre, pag qualitative yung perspective mo, syempre mas narrative review yung gagawin mo. Kasi parang mas qualitative descriptions yung susulat mo. Narrative reviews are more useful for combining results from studies that may use different methods and procedures and that address different questions. So, syempre, yung iba't ibang mga research work, iba-iba naman yung mga proseso nila, iba-iba yung mga ginagawa nila, iba yung kanilang mga purposes, no? Iba yung kanilang mga objectives. So, in a narrative review, para siyang we're reporting and also analyzing ano ba yung ginawa ng iba't ibang study. No? Dahil magkakaiba naman yung nature ng study, it would be really hard to parang put them together, no? Which is done by the second type of literature review, the meta-analysis. Meta-analysis uses quantitative method of combining the results of previous studies. This is the preferred method for combining the results of many studies that use comparable methods to address the same question. Minsan kasi, there are many studies na kumbaga pare-pareho yung mga variables na susukatin. Iba-iba lang, for example, yung context, no? Halimbawa, it's a study, halimbawa, ang literature review focus mo ay you're looking at parang men and women in the workplace, no? So, i-compute mo parang yung kanilang yung halimbawa, yung parang kunwari ang hanapin mo ay how men and women are paid in the workplace. Tapos marami ng studies na nag-aral yan. Iba-iba yung klase ng workplace, iba-iba yung number of respondents, no? Pero same essentially yung variables, no? Dahil magkakapareho yung methods at saka yung variables, pwede mo silang pagsamahin. Although of course, may adjustment ka na gagawin sa bawat study, no? You convert the findings of many different studies into a common measure that can be used to combine them. You translate your independent variable into two categories or experimental conditions or yung standard deviation. Yung meta-analysis actually, meron siyang computation, no? Na kukompute mo yung standard deviations from each of the studies. So pag ni-report mo siya, yung maraming studies, you can put parang discuss them together. And this is done in a quantitative research. Hindi ako quantitative researcher, so I don't usually use this one. Pero yun, parang in essence ay, parang kang, hindi naman nag-average, pero parang you're combining all the quantitative results of many studies. No? So ano ba yung, based dun sa perspectives mo in research, dun sa belief systems mo on how you see the world, ikaw ba ay mas positivist ka ba or post-positivist, interpretivist, and so on, no? Based dito, kailangan makapag-decide ka on the kind of literature review that you will do, no? And then, plan your literature data gathering phase, no? And how do you do that? So first, be thorough in your search for related literature, no? Hindi, yun nga, kagaya ng mga kanina, hindi sapat na parang, meron akong 20 na nakita literature, okay na yon. Hindi yung ganon, no? Kailangan talaga you exhaust all possibilities. Kaya, para pag sinabi mo na talagang, kakaunti lang yung study on this certain field, which is the common thing to say in literature reviews. Yun yung mga common na sinasabi para ma-prove, ma-justify yung research mo, no? Kailangan totoo talaga nakakaunti, no? Kailangan masasabi mo na parang for all for example, in Philippine research journals on humanities and the arts, sa dami nun, for example, merong 500 journal articles, ang lahat ng tungkol lang sa tungkol lang sa young adults and literature ay gantong number lang. At ito lang, kasi tinignan mo talaga lahat. And I think this is doable naman if you are, if you know how to limit your literature, you're searching for literature. Kasi yun nga ako, ginagawa ko minsan parang, lahat ng Philippine studies lang, ito lang yung mga lumabas talaga. And you also talk about how you gather the literature. No? Yeah. Siyempre, pag international yung scope, ang hirap naman talaga din i-gather. Pero you set limits for yourself. For example, yun nga, sa lahat ng mga na-publish ng gantong journal, which is the top journal for my field, ito lang yung mga journals on this specific topic, di ba? So, ikaw din yung mag-limit. Dissect your research area of interest into different sub-areas that have already been studied in the field. Ito rin yung isang challenge, no? Kasi minsan sabihin, ay wala po talaga akong makita on this certain topic. Pero kasi baka ang nangyayari, hindi mo siya na-hihimay into smaller sub-areas. Kaya wala ka talagang makita on this specific term. What if parang bagong term lang pala yung ginagamit mo, di ba? Baka iba pa yung tawag sa kanya in the past. And then, so for example, no, well ako since ang research ko ay children and media, na kunwari, nag-identify ako ng area of study ko, wala pa akong topic, no? Area of study pa lang. So, yung mga interest ko ay children, technology, creativity, media, and communication. So, paano ko siya hatiin into topics? Kasi ang mahirap din naman na masyado tayong general na parang halimbawa, ang first area natin ay children. Ang daming aspects of children. Diba? Merong cognitive development, merong children and playtime, merong children and ano pa ba? Pwedeng scientific yung perspective, diba? So, ang dami. So, how do you parang make your literature review more focused? No? Ayaw din naman natin na sobrang generic yung bawat sub-area. So, pwede, ang gawin mo, pag-pair-pairin mo sila. For example, here, yung first possible area ko ay children's use of technology. So, pinagsama ko yung children and technology. Ang next one ay creativity among children. Pinagsama ko naman yung children at creativity, children in the media, children plus media, and how children communicate. Children in communication. No? So, pwede mong so kung meron kang research interest, i-combine mo sila para maging mas focus na yung pagtingin mo. Hindi mo siya kailangan hiwa-hiwalayin din. Kasi, halimbawa, search ka lang about communication in general, napakalawak naman nun, no? So, kailangan mas focus na siya. Another example, kunwari ang aking research interest ay pandemic, literacy, elementary education, and English. So, how do I create possible areas for my literature review? Yung possible areas, ito na yung mga bagay na pwede mong i-google, kumbaga, or parang ito na yung mga topics na kailangan ay titingnan mo. So first, how literacy is taught in the early grades. So pinagsama ko yung literacy and elementary education. Effects of the pandemic on elementary education. So pandemic plus elementary education yan. English as a subject in elementary schools. So it's English plus elementary education. And child learners and the pandemic. So literacy plus pandemic yan and also children. So ganon. So kailangan creative tayo in parang creating sub-areas. No? And then we will discuss later on how to further focus that. Another example, kunwari ang research interest ay social media, politics, and internet memes. No? So ano yung mga possible areas for literature review? Una, social media practices and behavior among young users, proliferation of internet memes. So, pwede pag hiwa-hiwalay sila, pero syempre, meron na rin mas focus na rin. Internet memes as political tool, the role of social media in propaganda, which is essentially social media plus politics, how young netizens use political memes. And then, so kunwari naman, ang interest mo ay P-pop, no? Kunwari ay mahilig ka sa P-pop, kasi yun nga, parang ang point ko naman, lalo na kapag nasa fields ka ng arts, humanities, communication, basta research interest mo, kaya mo yung lagyan ng research pin. So kunwari, ang study mo ay something about P-pop, something about fans, something about participatory culture, which is a parang A Perspective by Henry Jenkins. So ano yung mga possible areas? So P-pop to K-pop to P-pop, ang global phenomenon. So I discussed P-pop, no, pero syempre in the context of K-pop kasi syempre doon naman siya nanggaling. Fandom behavior in the Philippines. So kapag dito naman sa example na to, I wanted to show parang how to focus very broad areas, no. Halimbawa, fandom studies, maraming fandom studies pero sa dami, mag-focus na ako dun sa Philippine experience dahil madami na agad yan kapag sa Philippines pa lang. And research on participatory culture. Another tip, you might want to have a literature review sub-area about your framework. Minsan kasi, when we parang think of the research that we want to do, minsan may baon na tayong framework. Kasi nag-aral naman tayo bago tayo magpunta sa research phase, nag-aral na tayo ng maraming teorya, sa iba't ibang mga fields natin, nag-aral na tayo ng maraming methods. So minsan, may baon na tayong method, may baon na tayong framework. So you might want to dedicate a sub-area for that para ma-justify nyo din na, okay, for the case of P-pops and fans, participatory culture is actually the best fit, no, for inquiry. Yeah. So identify the materials and resources that are most available to you. So yun, lalo na ngayon, no, tayo ay karamihan sa atin na nag-research ngayon, parang research during the pandemic, which already poses challenges on its own. So, kailangan ikaw, alam mo yung mga accessible na materials to you, no? For example, in the case of UP and UPLB, merong facility yung library to provide materials for you. At ganoon din sa ibang institutions, probably you have subscriptions to many journals, o baka yung mismo library niya, dami na pala doon mga research na pwedeng gamitin. Minsan may mga online repositories yung mga thesis ng ibang mga batch, no, para source din siya of of literature. No, pero ikaw kailangan alam mo ano ba yung mga pwede kong tingnan para hindi ka nalilimitahan lang nung sasabihin mo wala po access, no. But I think palagi namang meron, especially now that the internet offers many ways to access information. Kailangan lang malay tayo kung ano ba yung mga pwede nating hanapin at saan natin ito pwede makita. Yan. In searching for the literature, you might want to restrict search by topic, by time, by journal, by geography, and other ways to limit it. Kasi yun nga, parang gusto natin extensive. Pero we cannot promise it's very extensive na parang mula nung kauna-unahang na-invento yung field mo hanggang sa ngayon, sa lahat ng bansa. No? Kung kaya mo yun, at least sige kahit mga ilang taon. Charot. Pero yun nga, di ba? Pero we cannot promise that we can do everything. Pero pag na-limit natin, at least we can promise na, sa limitation ko na ito, nakapag-search talaga ako thoroughly. And how do we do that? Yun nga, nagaya na si pinakita ko kanina, pwedeng by topic, no? Pwede rin by time. Pwedeng sabihin mo na agad na, dahil ang study, for example, ng K-pop naman ay palaging madami. Or pwedeng studies about the pandemic, no? Dahil current experience siya, ang dami nag-research about the pandemic, sasabihin mo talaga, no, in your writing. My literature review about the pandemic will only focus on researches published when the COVID-19 pandemic happened up to present. Kasi baka may relevant material about previous pandemics, no? Pero kasi dahil you see the urgency of COVID-19 specific area, tapos ang dami ng research, di baka naman pwede na to. At least ito, you do it extensively. By journal, yun nga, parang I had a paper na I wrote na ako for my literature review, I'll research on all journals published by UP, by Ateneo, yung Kritika Kultura, and so on. So, nag-specify ako ng mga journals lang. And that way, masasabi ko na, out of all these journals, merong gantong number of issues. Bawat issue ay merong gantong number of articles for a total of this number of articles. Pero sa dami na ito, ang about children lang ay gantong number. Ganun yung ginawa ko sa isang study. And so on, no? Geography, pwedeng Philippine or Asia studies lang kung ang dami na kung doon pa lang. Pero yun nga, kapag kakaunti siya, medyo lalabas tayo. Pag sabi niya, study about the pandemic in the Philippines, parang feeling, children and pandemic na kunwari. Tapos parang lang, unti lang sa Philippines. Sige, Asia naman ako. So, lalakihan mo kapag feeling mo. Take note of your research, of your search process. Report how you search, what databases you use, and your restrictions. So, kailangan transparent tayo sa ating literature review. Actually, sa buong papel naman, di ba? Kasi, ang best way talaga to write your output, kailangan transparent ka sa mga bagay-bagay. Halimbawa, sa iyong methodology, sabi mo, I only interviewed parents who are also friends of my parents. No? Bakit? Justify mo. Bakit? Kasi you believe na parang because these are already people whom you know, mas comfortable na sila to share their experience with you. Parang ganun. And syempre, baback mo yan with literature. So ganun tayo lagi when we write the research para hindi tayo questionin, maging transparent tayo. At ganun din sa literature review. When you have to report everything, kung ano nag-search ka, ano ginamit mong platform, to kailan ka nag-search, ano yung mga na-access mo na material, anong mga journals, ano yung mga restrictions mo. Yun nga, halimbawa, pwede mo talagang sabihin na because it was the pandemic, at that time, I only got to research literature from online databases because there's no mobility at that time, and so on. If the term is specific and unexplored, broaden your search. Yun nga, kasi may mga terms kasi na parang bago pa lang sila na-invento, no? So, parang at that, halimbawa, for, yung konsepto ng internet meme, no? There was a time na yung meme, mas cultural artifact siya than internet thing, no? So, kunti pa lang yung studies at that time about internet meme. So, baka may makikita ka na content na hindi naman about memes talaga, di ba? Halimbawa, another example, yung study na advice ko, naalala ko, yung gaslighting, baka hindi gaslighting pa yung term, no? Na ginagamit, no? So kailangan may awareness ka rin dun sa history ng terminology sa mga possible manifestations niya. Explore online and offline sources, pero yun nga, I would also say na yung last na bullet, search for journal articles. Marami ding perspective in terms of ano ba yung parang research, ano ba yung mga pwedeng include sa literature review. Yung iba naglalagay ng parang textbook definitions, yung iba naglalagay ng parang mga news articles, no? Pero parang ako, ang practice ko, I only focus on research journals, research articles, no? Pag yan yung mga news articles, baka sa ibang section dapat yan dinidiscuss, no? Tapos yung mga textbook definitions, halimbawa, di-define yung, halimbawa, participatory culture is defined as. Pwede naman i-define as an introduction to that section, no? Pero baka ang kailangan natin i-focus sa literature review ay mga studies, no? Huwag na tayong maglagay ng mga ibang definition kasi baka sa ibang siya dapat nakalagay, sa ibang parts. Find topic-specific journals or special issues, no? Minsan helpful din na aware ka dun sa publication about the field. Kasi minsan, may mga special issues on children in the pandemic or yung Philippine Communication Society, meron sila laging special issue, may mga special issues, no? Special issue on children and media or parang health and media, mga ganyan. So, kailangan aware kayo dun sa directions ng field nyo para alam nyo na, kung ano yung mga special issues, ano yung mga perspectives na din-discuss ng bawat journal. Tapos ang daming ngayon na parang international journals na sobrang specific, no? Hindi na lang sila, yung mga international journals, hindi lang sila basta journal on communication, hindi ganyan. Sobrang specific ng mga areas. Kailangan alam nyo yun. Dahil kayo naman yung expert sa field. Charge lang po. Okay? And then the third step is to read and prepare a literature matrix, no? Unahin ko na kailangan tayong maging masipag sa pagbabasa, no? Dahil na rigorous talaga yung literature review process and research in general. Kailangan masipag tayo sa pagbabasa. And how do you do that? So ang ginagawa kasi ng iba, sige, download ng lahat ng mga PDF saka ako nababasahin. Yung iba naman, which is the bad practice actually, abstract lang ang binabasa. Pero ang tip ko ay, basahin nyo muna yung abstract and judge if the work is of relevance to your study. Kasi pwede namang, hindi pala, parang, halimbawa sa title, akala mo related sa study mo, but when you actually read the paper, iba pala yung perspective or it's a completely different thing pala. No? So, when you read the abstract, your goal is to find the relevance of this study to your paper. At kapag gagamitin nyo siya for your literature review, you read the full paper, no? Not just the abstract. At alam nyo po, mahalata sa mga outputs nyo, especially for students, no? At least for us teachers, we know in your literature review if you only read the abstract. So wag na tayong mag-shortcut. Yan. Pay attention to the sources that your literature cites. Minsan, halimbawa, sabi mo, wala nakitang literature, no? Check mo yung mga sources na sinite mong binasa mong literature. It would lead you to more references. Kasi syempre, ganun lang naman din yung process of research. It's a matter of citing each other then, no? At doon kayo makakita ng mga iba pang perspectives about your area of focus. Yan. And then, you might want to create a literature matrix. I know because of time and because haggard na tayo sa ating mga student life, ang ginagawa ng iba sa atin ay kapag nagbasa ng literature, diretso sulat na, no? Ang nangyayari, dito dito nakikita na hindi organized yung literature review nyo kasi halatang-halata na pagkabasa, nagsulat na agad, hindi na na-process yung lahat. Wala nang analysis. And I think ganito rin naman kapag nag-analyze na tayo, kapag sa data analysis na tayo, meron muna tayong parang data na kailangan i-organize, saka natin i-report. Ganun din sa literature. So ang tip ko, which is also something that I have learned in my graduate studies, is to create a literature matrix. So ano ba yung literature matrix? Ito ay pwedeng Excel sheet ng lahat ng mga binasa nyo, wherein sa first column, dito yung mga literature, so ilagay nyo na agad yung citation style, no? Kung APA man, MLA, kung ano mang citation format yung kailangan sa inyo, ilagay nyo na, i-capture nyo na that way, no? Pwede gumamit kayo ng Mendeley, parang app siya for easier citation reading of the PDFs, no? Para nag-collate na kayo later on ng references, ang hirap kaya na parang sa huli mo gagawin yung references. Sobrang, kumbaga ang daming extra. Dito pa lang, ginawa mo na, maayos na siya. And then, sa second column, you discuss the major findings, no? Hindi ito yung parang mas copy-paste mo lang yung mga nakuha mo. Ikaw yung mag-discuss on your own, no? Kung ano ba yung mga natutunan mo dun sa literature na yun, para lang hindi mo siya malimutan, di ba? Minsan, if you want to really capture a specific passage from the original text, i-quote nyo na dito pa lang sa column na to para alam nyo na, okay, this is from the original. Kasi lagay nyo yung page number kasi baka malimutan nyo. Dito nag-start din yung issues of plagiarism kasi akala nyo kayo yung nagsulat noon pero kinopy nyo lang pala din sa original. Tapos lagay nyo rin yung mga theories and methodologies used kasi baka may mapulot kayo doon. How the literature relates to your own study. So here, discuss how the literature relates now to the context of your own study, and then discuss also the research gap. So ano ba yung kulang doon sa literature na yon na possible mong i-provide, no? Makakatulong sa inyo yung literature matrix kasi dito makikita nyo na yung lahat ng mga binasa nyo. You can organize ano ba yung mga discuss nyo ng magkakasunod, ng magkakasama, di ba? And then, minsan, dahil kayo naman yung nagsulat ng major findings na part, yung how the literature relates to your own study na part, at yung research gap na part, pwedeng i-copy nyo na lang siya ng i-copy when you're writing the chapter. Pero syempre, i-organize nyo ulit after, no? So you might want to consider this para mas organize ang mga bagay-bagay and para mas rigorous din yung inyong process. Yan. Based on what you have read, conceptualize your topic. Sorry, nagkulang. And so, in conceptualizing your research, ano ba yung mga kailangan nating itanong? No? First, what are the dominant alternative paradigms in the area of the study? Based on what you have read, ano yung parang mga common perspectives at ano yung parang mga hindi masyadong ginagamit na perspective in this field. That way, makakapag-decide kayo, ano ba gagawin ko? Because this is mas the dominant theories and perspectives, sige, i-apply ko yan, pero sa Philippine context. Or baka naman gusto nyo i-challenge na, dahil wala pang qualitative research about the field, I'll do it qualitatively. What has already been done and what needs to be done? What are the research gaps? And as a researcher, where do you come in, di ba? So, kumbaga, ito na rin yung pinrovide nyo kanina sa literature matrix. Ano ba yung mga kakulangan? And where can I enter as the researcher? That way, mas merong strong na justification. Bakit nyo ba inaaral yung topic na ipopropose nyo? Ayan. And then, in conceptualizing the research, because we have already read what has been done by many researchers before us. we are now ready to construct the research problem and objectives, the theoretical framework and the underpinnings related to the topic, the methodological concerns, and justifications for research decisions. Lahat ng mga explanation and justifications natin moving forward sa literature natin makukuha. Okay lang, kung may magtatanong sa inyo, okay lang po ba na sinite ko na sa intro, sa-cite ko ulit sa RRL, okay lang na nauulit yung mga citation. Pero wag lang sana na parang kitang-kita sa papel na isang reference ang ginagamit nyo kasi siya lang yung sinasite nyo, marami namang nag-research about the field, no? Unless may seminal work na kayo na gustong i-discuss. Pero, kaya mahalaga yung literature and doing the literature industriously ay dahil lahat ng mga decisions natin moving forward in the research will already be justified dahil nabasa na natin lahat ng ito. Ang tip when you're halimbawa, hinahanapan tayo, what's your justification for having 10 respondents? Or what is your justification on using yourself and your own story as one of the stories in your narratives in your study? Magsasite ka lang ng same research na ganun yung ginawa. At dahil nagawa na yon and it's published, valid na yung gagawin mong decision. Kaya mahalaga na meron tayong alam talaga sa literature. So now, let's move on writing the literature review. Merong 3 essential aspects yung literature review. Yung introduction mo, yung mga subtopics na i-discuss mo, and yung synthesis. So because your research is an argument that you are trying to make, then every part of your research inquiry is aimed at making the argument stronger. Ito rin yung lagi ko sinasabi sa students ko na ang iba sa inyo ay pina-attend ko today. Argument ang lahat ng parts, no? Sa introduction, sa chapter 1, you're stating the same argument and justifying ano ba yung stand mo about this topic and why your study is important. And you're using different references. Sometimes you look, you'll cite literature. Sometimes you'll cite a news article kasi gusto mong i-point out na ito yung current context, di ba? Sa framework, you have the same argument but you're using theories to support your argument, no? And then, sa data, sa analysis part, ito na yung you have the same argument and then you're using the data that you have gathered to prove that. Sa literature review, you are also forwarding the same argument, but now you are using previous studies as your justification. And kaya parang pare-pareho yung dala-dala mo na mensahe sa bawat chapter ng iyong papel. So how do you write the RRL introduction? Start the introduction by answering what is the goal of your literature review. Bakit ka ba magli-literature review, no? Ano yung gusto mong patunayan? At ako ang ginagawa ko, sa introduction pa lang, sasabihin ko na parang this literature, my goal in the literature review, for example, is to prove that children are creative when they use technology. Kasi yun yung dissertation ko. And to prove that, I will discuss the following, di ba? So, discuss mo yung pag hinimay mo yung argument mo, yun yung magiging parts ng discussion mo. You also have to talk about how much has been explored about this topic. Pwede mong sabihin na, for example, kung K-pop, dami na nag-aaral ng K-pop. Marami na pag-aaral sa K-pop. Pero my goal here is to prove that it is important to understand K-pop from the perspective of ano man yung study mo. What central arguments do you hope to discuss? No? So ito na yung parang sub-arguments mo supporting your main argument. Kailangan masabi mo to sa introduction. Ano ba yung mga i-discuss mo talaga? What should the readers expect and what is the order of discussion? Kailangan din kasi, dahil yung literature review, it's a lengthy reading material, no? And based on my personal experience then, I have learned na para effective yung literature review mo, kailangan palagi mong i-guide yung reader. Kasi hindi naman lahat na magbabasa ng research mo, alam yung topic mo, alam yung area of expertise mo, alam yung area of study na gusto mong i-focus, no? So, kailangan i-guide mo siya na, as in, explicitly na parang, for this section, I'll talk about children and ganyan. This would be followed by, so as in ganon, sobrang guided na reading siya. That way, hindi may iwan yung readers. And you might want to also refer to other parts of the paper. Pwede mo sabihin na, in chapter 1, I talked about this certain argument and I would further support that by looking at many studies published in ganyan. Diba? So kailangan makikita rin yung guide mo as the writer on how the chapter 1, the introductions, the framework now connects to the literature. Ayan. So for the RRL proper, discuss related studies, publish journals, books, paper presentations, and other credible academic materials focused on research. Yan, ito yung mga pwede nyo i-discuss. Anything na research yung orientation. No? Pero halimbawa, yung journal article, parang journal article, ginawan siya ng parang feature article sa isang news site. Ang tingnan mo na, siguro yung yung mismong reference. Wag ka na mag-cite ng mismong news article. Gagawin mo yung news article sa chapter 1. News articles, textbooks, blogs, na kailangan credible pa rin naman, baka sa chapter 1 siya dapat i-discuss. And then, another tip, dissect your title into subtopics. So sa minsan, di ba tayo, may bago na tayong title. Para makapili ka ng subtopics, i-dissect mo yan into separate parts. Or kung hindi man yung topic, ay yung title mo, yung mismong argument mo, hatiin mo siya into different parts. Para yung flow, ganun pa rin. Make sure that how you construct and order subtopics reflects the arguments that you have in chapter 1. Paano ba natin organize yung RRL? Kung paano ka nag-discuss sa chapter 1 ng introduction and background mo, yun na rin yung sundin mo. Pero this time, mas malalim yung analysis. So for example, yung research interest ko nga ay children, technology, creativity, media, and so on. So ano yung argument ko? Kaya nabagin ko kanila, children can become creative when using technology. So ano yung possible subtopics ko? So una, I talk about children as digital natives so that I connect children and technology. Children's creativity in different modalities. Dahil sabi ko, children can become creative. So pwede sila maging creative sa iba't ibang paraan. Through play, through media, and so on in the academy. Technology use among children. So i-relate ko naman yung children and technology. Effects of technology and creativity in and through technology. So if you would look at these possible areas, sinusundan niya yung argument mo. Here is another example. Kunwari, ang research interest that I have identified before my literature gathering ay family communication, relationship building, and pandemic. Ang argument ko that I have learned after I have read so many research works about the research interest ay, because of the pandemic, families created stronger bonds because of increased opportunity to communicate and share stories. So kung ito yung argument ko, paano ko siya hatiin? So una, pandemic and dynamics at home, Filipino households and family ties, the role of narratives in establishing close relationships, the pandemic and the Filipino family, and how pandemic led to stronger family ties. So if you would notice again, na-dissect ko na yung argument ko, tapos ano siya, parang nag-build up siya towards each other. So synthesis, let's talk about the synthesis naman. There are two ways to synthesize your literature review. Una, you have to synthesize each subtopic. How do you end each subtopic? Kailangan may some form of synthesis ka. Kailangan ay, kumaga yung certain subtopic na yon, kailangan meron siyang some sort of conclusion na in itself. Here, sa synthesis ng bawat subtopic, you discuss the trends in the specific area, you discuss the research gap, and how do you relate to them to your study. At ito, meron na kayo nito kasi ito yung nandun sa ginawa nating literature matrix. And then after that, you have to synthesize the whole paper. So meron kayong subtopic or subsection na synthesis. Paano natin gagawin yung synthesis? Kunin mo yung lahat ng mga synthesis sa bawat subtopic, i-discuss mo sila ulit. Pero syempre, hindi naman siya copy-paste, Kailangan ay i-rediscuss mo sila. Okay? And then, you reiterate your argument and state the case for your study. So, here are some tips in writing the review. So organize your RRL the way you organize the other sections of the paper, this time using studies to prove the same argument. Kagaya na nabanggit ko kanina. Next ay describe the theories used by the study, the methods, and the result instead of just a conclusion. Kasi nga, parang gusto natin mapakita din yung iba't ibang mga research decisions ng mga research na nabasa mo para masabi mo na, okay, dahil ginagamit tong theory na to, it's either gamitin ko rin siya or magta-try naman ako. Pero yun nga, kapag conclusions na nire-report natin, ito yung mga moments na nagbasa lang tayo ng abstract. Group studies with similar findings together. Kung mapapansin nyo minsan, kapag may mga citations na yung nasa parenthesis tapos madami, ginagawa natin siya kasi kung pare-pareho naman yung parang gustong i-point out ng studies na ito, instead of discussing them one after the other, baka pwede nyo na siyang i-discuss in one go, di ba? Ito yung mga running joke na ang sinasabi ay ang dami-dami kong binasa, nagbasa ako ng 50 na research works, no? Tapos isang paragraph na yung nasulat ko about it. Because that's true, no? Kasi nga, dahil kung pare-pareho naman ang sinasabi na hindi lang itong mga studies na ito, eh di wag na natin siyang i-discuss ang isa. I-group na natin yung discussion. Ayan. However, avoid letting the names of authors play too prominent a role in your writing, no? Minsan, di ba yung naging practice natin, according to a study by Sayuno, ganyan, or Sayuno said that in his paper that, no, minsan, parang mas maganda, mas inactive yung citation, naka-parenthesis, kesa nasa palaging according to, kasi, well, redundant siya. At saka ang point natin, we're discussing the findings and the stances, no, of the research. However, there's an exemption to that, no? Except when you want to emphasize a certain claim that a specific author expressed in order to differentiate it from your own analysis. Maganda naman na ginagamit natin yung specific person as the subject, kumbaga, in a sentence, no? Kapag gusto nating i-point out na, ganito talaga yung for example, the work of Sayuno is, claims this. However, I would like to point out that. So kumbaga parang hindi naman ina-atake, kundi parang you're starting an intellectual argument, no, with a researcher. No? Minsan din, we cite specific authors actively in our construction if we want to point out that this is a seminal work proposed by this specific person. No? We give that credit to that person. Ayan. Tips in writing the review. Use transitions to link ideas. No? So may question muna ako, no? Ayan, para mak-check ko rin kung buhay pa yung mga tao dyan sa Facebook, no? Ilan ba yung advisable na parang subsections ng isang literature review? Mag-comment kayo ng number. Yan, naka-check ako sa sa ating Facebook. Ilan yung number of subtopics that you would you advise your student, for example, or when you write your literature review, ilang subtopics or subsections yung ginagawa niyo? Yan. Yan po, nag-comment na si Miss Pamu, 5 daw. Si Ma'am Yolanda, Yolda ay 50. Dami naman subtopics. Si Jericho sabi niya ay 5. Yan. 3 lang ang nag-comment. Depends upon the variable, sabi ni Edmark. Sabi naman ni Andre ay 3 daw. Si Chrislyn ay 5. Wala nang mas mataas sa 5. Yan, 5. Depending number of variables. Yan. Very quantitative yung mga nagko-comment ng variables. 10, sabi ni Ronald. Yan. Si Dennis naman ay 3. So, iba-iba yung perspective, no? Pero feeling ko, yun, ako din, I agree na parang, tama naman, depending on the variable. Ayan, si Flay ay 8 daw. Yan. Depending on the number of variables and parang indicators in your research, no? Pero ako, okay na sa akin yung 4 na subtopics plus 1 na synthesis. Or kung 5, okay lang din as long as all arguments are kumbaga parang all aspects have a specific argument. Ang nagiging problem kasi sa maraming research work, ayan, may 8 to 10 pa. Ang dami ng 8 to 10, totoo lang. minsan kasi hinahati natin yung topics na pwede naman natin pagsamahin. Or minsan, ginagamit natin yung subtopics as a crutch to link ideas together. Kasi minsan pa nga meron pa tayong third level na subtopic, no? Kasi parang ano siya, parang yung paggamit kasi ng subtopic, it's a shortcut, no, in linking ideas together. Where in fact, kaya naman natin isulat isang subsection na wala tayong mga subtopics because we use transitions to link ideas. And how do we do that? Hanggang 15, wag naman hanggang 15, no? Yan. So, paano ba natin siya gagawin, no? We use transitional statements sa parang, parang i-relate mo yung previous paragraph dun sa next one, no? Kapag feeling nyo nagiging redundant yung discussions nyo, it only means na kailangan pagsamahin itong dalawang topics na ito. Minsan, 3 topics, okay lang din naman. Kung 3 topics lang plus 1 synthesis, why not, diba? So, ganon, no? We use transitions to link ideas together. And minsan, kahit may meron ka lang namang 4 na subtopics, no? Tapos meron sa mga specific titles. Pero kahit may title siya, yung paragraph na kasunod niya, you still link it from the previous discussion, no? Hindi siya parang isolated discussion. Yon. So kailangan, wag natin gamitin yung mga subtopics as crutch para magmukhang link yung mga ideas. Yan. Thank you po for answering yan sa ating comment section. Another tip, avoid devoting one whole paragraph for each study. No need to cover published works one at a time. Hindi sabi ko kanina na parang annotated bibliography siya. No? Kung pwede may pagsamahing discussions, you focus on themes arising from the research works. Hindi na parang in one study, isang mahabang discussion, in the next study, hindi tayo ganun. No? Ayan. Use the first or last sentence of each paragraph to connect the studies with your own current study or assumption. Isang maganda din tong practice, no? Kailangan palagi tayo, after natin mag-discuss ng iba't ibang mga themes based on the researches that we have read, i-relate natin siya ngayon sa study. Palagi tayong babalik sa current study natin. Para din, nag-guide natin yung readers natin. Bakit mo ba din-discuss tong part na to? Because you want to justify something related to your study. Cite the original source. As much as you can, avoid yung as cited in. Kasi di ba, parang sabi natin kanina, we look at the sources cited by the literature that we read. Pero ang ibig sabihin nun, pupuntahan natin yung actual references na ginamit niya. Hindi yung parang lahat ng mga sinite nung, halimbawa, yan, si Miss Javier, sinite ko siya. Talagang sasabihin ko lagi as cited in Javier 2022. Yeah. Hi, Teya. Di ba? Hindi puro galing kay Javier ang mga isa-cite mo, no? Kailangan pupuntahan mo yung mga sinite niya. Kasi ang ibig sabihin nun, isang work lang ang binasa mo. Nagmukha ka ng maraming mga citation pero isang work lang yung binasa mo. We go to the original sources as much as possible. Pag hindi naman kaya, o di sige, pero wag naman natin i-overuse yung cited in, no? Or kung hindi mo makita yung actual source, edi hanap ka talaga ng ibang source. Have an open mind. While you already have a hypothesis or an assumption, the literature review opens you up to more possibilities and research directions. So wag din masyado tayong set na, just because my study is all about how fandoms create their own stories in Twitter based on their idols, yun na lang, no? Baka naman may iba pang perspective on how they do that, di ba? So, ang literature review, ginagamit natin siya to broaden our perspectives at hindi para maging set lang on justifying your own direction. Minsan din, parang akala mo, okay yung study ko, pero pagbasa mo ng literature review, ang dami na palang nagawa, or parang, hindi pala nag-work yung argument ko. So, maging open ka to parang change. Hindi yung parang, hindi ka open, biglang pag nag-data gathering ka, same din yung lalabas. Hindi lalo kang naging talo. Konti na lang po. So, ito, last part, common errors in writing the literature review. No, some tips, well, in essence, ay tips din ito that you might want to consider. The first one is, minsan kapag nagsusulat tayo ng literature review sa introduction, sabihin natin, the goal is to summarize past work on the topic, or this chapter presents the following subheadings. Tapos, ilalagay mo lang yung title ng mga subheadings, no? Kapag ganon, no, masyadong vague yung introduction natin, tapos magiging poor tuloy yung organization natin, no? So kailangan talaga malinaw pa lang sa introduction, ano ba yung purpose mo sa literature review na ito beyond reporting what has been done, no? Ano talaga yung specific purpose mo in relation to your own study. And then from there, from having a clear argument na kaya mong i-construct in your introduction, ma-organize mo rin yung research, literature review. There are no studies about the topic, no? Ano naman yung mali sa part na ito? Not enough information and rigor in research, no? Mahirap kasi yung claim na parang this has not been studied yet. Like ever, seriously, ito talaga yung pioneering part. Kung kaya mo naman i-justify, o sige, why not? Baka naman ikaw talaga yung pioneer dyan. Pero when you say a claim like that, kailangan back yan by research. Kung hindi pa yun na-research, ano yung mga na-research na? At para masabi mo na, wala pa talagang ganyang perspective. Diba? Otherwise, don't make such claims. Diba? Yeah. Third, failure to connect to current study. So minsan, baka discuss natin yung literature review, yun nga, hindi naman natin kino-contextualize afterwards to our own study. So palaging babalik tayo sa study natin, no, para wag din tayo malos at wag din malos ng leader natin. Fourth, lack of criticism. Yun nga, yung parang idea na we are just reporting one research after the other. Kailangan critical tayo. We analyze ano ba yung mga pagkukulang. Okay lang din na minsan questionin natin yung mga findings nila in the most respectful and also responsible way. So pag nag-question ka ng isang research material, kailangan meron ka rin yung justification for that, di ba? Pero kailangan natin maging critical na parang, minsan, pwedeng mapapansin mo bigla parang, in all the studies on, in all the studies on business communication, I noticed that all the respondents are male. Pwede yun, mga ganong claims na napansin mo, na that would also help you in justifying your own study. Yeah. So be critical and analytical in the literature review. Confirmation bias. Yung confirmation bias naman, this happens when meron kang parang stance at yung lahat ng ginagamit mo na citations ay to only prove your stance, no? Confirmation bias happens when people selectively present positive evidence overlooking contrary evidence. Parang dahil natatamad ka na kunwari na baguhin yung topic mo, o kaya parang gusto mo talaga i-prove na tama ka, ang napakita mo lang sa literature review mo, all things that are supporting your stand. Pero you have to also present the other side of the context, di ba? Pero pwede rin naman na kahit nag-present ka ng dalawang aspect, meron ka pa rin gustong argument on your own, di ba? Yan. Old references only. So yung iba, mga ginagamit, puro old references, yung mga 1990s pa, even 2000s, di ba? Iba naman, on the other side ay new sources lang ang ginagamit. So medyo basagin na natin yan ngayon ano. Di ba parang iba-iba kasi yung perspectives. I'm sure narinig nyo sa mga teachers nyo or baka sinasabi nyo sa mga students nyo na kailangan ang mga references lang na gagamitin nyo ay for the last 5 years. No? May point naman siya. Kasi syempre, we want to cite the most current updates on the field. Pero it doesn't mean na we no longer have to cite the old ones. Kasi baka merong seminal work na talagang ito talaga yung source material on your specific area of study. No? Na worthy rin yun of citation. So it's really a mix of citing seminal works and also ano ba yung mga naging current updates niya. Kasi, kaya naman sinasabi talaga na kailangan yung mga current works lang. Kasi parang ang point naman dyan ay baka kasi na-contradict na yung past. No? Halimbawa, yung common ay yung hypodermic needle theory. No? Na yung parang magic bullet theory na yung ang point niya ay parang right away, you are affected by the violence on TV. Parang ganon. Di ba? Yan yung Bobodal experiment sa media. Na parang ginawa nila ay pinapanood yung mga bata, tapos after daw, naging violent agad. Pinapanood sila ng mga violent content, tapos violent na sila after. Yun, napabulaanan na yun. And I'm sure marami kayo na-encounter na gano'n, mga teorya na ni-research, tapos napabulaanan na. Kaya kailangan talaga current yung mga site natin. Pero, wag din nating kalimutan yung mga old works na talagang sila naman yung nag-forward ng field. So, medyo, it's a healthy mix of citing old and new references. And it's also an opportunity for us to present the history of your area of study. Na parang, oh, ito yung mga naunang perspective, pero nabago na siya. And this is where I come in. Yeah. Too many subheadings, kaya na bagay ko kanina, no? Isa naka-encounter ako parang hanggang 15 subheadings, pero yung isang subheading naman, halos dadalawang paragraph lang. So yung mga ganung maikli, ibig sabihin kailangan siya i-combine, no? Kailangan, kung meron diyang mga nag-overlap na topics, kailangan natin i-combine. We make our organization more effective for our readers, and we do not use the subtopics as parang a way to link ideas together, because the paragraph should be the ones linking the discussions. Reporting the abstract, no? Yun nga, again, do not just read the abstract. Halatang-halata po namin kapag abstract na mga binabasa, no? We use the abstract, again, to reiterate, as a way for us to check if the study is relevant, but we have to read the whole paper. And last, yan, plagiarism issues, no? Marami laging plagiarism issues sa literature review. Minsan, kinakapture natin yung buong passage without proper quotation marks and page number citations, ganyan. So kailangan kapag magko-quote tayo, kasama yung citation number, pero wag naman natin i-quote lahat, no? Kailangan i-quote lang natin ay yung mga parts na we feel we have to preserve, because ito talaga yung kumbaga parang we want to preserve the message, no? And we feel na parang if we paraphrase that or if we summarize that, mawawala yung meaning. Pero for all others, we write based on our own explanation, no? So sana bilang tayo ay responsible researchers who in the undergraduate and graduate level, hindi na tayo magpakomit ng plagiarism, no? So, hindi na tayo basta magka-copy, hindi na tayo mangunguha ng literature ng iba, hindi tayo basta magbabasa ng isang published literature review and we will claim it as our own. Siyempre, aware tayo what constitutes plagiarism because we are responsible researchers. Ayan. So, just a few reminders before I end my assigned session. Literature review is arguably the first step in any research work and the most important for me. Do not fear the literature. It's really an overwhelming work, pero kapag kayo ay well-read and you did your literature well, mas magiging maganda yung inyong research direction. The literature review is an argument that you have to embody, no, throughout the research then. Guide your readers in your review. Be critical of all perspectives, no? So we are open sa iba't ibang qualitative, quantitative, iba't ibang arguments about the topic. At totoo po ang balita, no? We cannot cram the RRL. When we cram the RRL, hindi magiging maganda yung ating buong output. Kasi marami tayong dapat basahin. And lastly, put grit and wit to that bit. Para naman yung ating research project ay talagang worthy of contribution to the build. At tayo din po, nakakatulong tayo in forwarding the perspectives in our different areas of study. Yeah. And that is, I guess, the end of my presentation. Happy reading and happy reviewing the literature. You may contact me in these platforms, in email address and website. Yun po. And sana po ay maging masipag tayo in our literature. Yeah. Thank you po.
Very much, Sir Cheeno. So nagdidiwang na po mga manok po natin dyan. Dahil marami po tayong natutunan ngayon sa RRL. So thank you very much, Sir Cheeno. Kahit ako po, no, ang dami ko pong na-pick up po from your session. At marami nga pong nagpapasalamat ngayon, Sir Cheeno, from our comment section po sa Facebook Live sa ating 643 viewers. Maraming salamat po sa pagtutok. And ito po, sir, ito po, Sir Cheeno, sabi ni Edmark Versosa, sabi niya, sana wag na matapos yung discussion na ito ni Sir. Super helpful po. So, sir, parang gusto ata nila ay one day session with with you for our So, na po siguro, sir, no, they can contact you through your email po if they would like to inquire additional tips or clarifications po siguro. Kasi sir, from my encounters din po from my previous classes, no, the RRL is one of the, parang po yung list na dinidiscuss na components ng research na hindi masyadong natutunan ng pansin na wherein it's, as you have said nga po, it's one of the most substantial part ng ating research na hindi pwedeng basta-basta lang yung ating RRL. So talagang dapat ay lagyan natin ng effort na may bigyan natin siya ng content talaga na very worthwhile yung ating review of related literature. Sabi naman po ni Fly Valerie, guilty daw po siya, sir, dun sa error number 2. Duly noted on this. So ito po, sir, we have our first question po from Jake Barona Doloricon. Sabi niya po, sir, I would like to ask if it is okay to include in RRL your view about a particular issue on a research topic without supporting it with previous studies. Mayroon kasi mga thesis advisors na pinapasupport yung statement mo kahit own view mo siya. What's your take on that, Sir Cheeno?
Actually, ako may value naman doon on parang stating your own view. Pero parang how do you do that, no? So you present what has been done, ano yung perspectives about the field. Dito na lalabas yung analysis mo when you offer your own parang insights about the findings, no. Okay lang siya na walang parang citation after, pero mas maganda rin kung meron. Pwede mong kukontrahin mo yung claim and then you support that with other studies. Pero kung wala, make sure lang na parang founded din on parang responsible perspective yung i-offer mo na counter-argument, kumbaga. That way, it opens up to conversation. At ang goal mo nga, kung meron kang parang kumbaga kukontrahin na perspective na published work, ang pwede mong sabihin na kukontrahin ko siya or however, I see that it's not the case for the Philippines, for example, kasi contextualized study mo. At yung mismong, kung wala kang justification based on other research work, baka ang justification mo ay yung mismong current study mo. Na yun yung goal mo. Kaya mo kinokontra or kaya parang meron kang ibang opinion about a certain finding, ay dahil ito yung goal mo dun sa topic. So okay lang na wala kang parang pang-back na justification, mas maganda kung meron, pero kung wala, baka yung study mo yung actual justification dun sa insight na yun.
I agree, sir, no? Kasi syempre po the research talaga, it would should have at least be yung parang may something na ikaw yon. Kasi it's your contribution nga po, 'di ba? Kasi sooner or later, 'di ba, Sir Cheeno, yung study na ginagawa mo ngayon would be part of someone else's RRL in the future kapag sinite ka nila, 'di ba? So it's okay din naman nga po na gano'n. Ito po, sir, we have actually a comment from Jefferson Agaloo. Sabi niya po, to be honest, I'm still struggling of searching, extracting, and finalizing the related literature. Such a broad part to be worked out accurately. Yet, because of your comprehensive and detailed discussion about its ABC, I can say I am now well capacitated realizing this subchapter of my dissertation. Salamat po, sir.
Ayan, good luck po sa inyong pagsusulat ng literature review. And tama naman, ako rin naman, parang ako, sa totoo lang, aaminin ko naman na parang yung RRL, siya talaga yung pinakamahalaga. Pero kahit ako, ito yung parang pinakamahirap sa akin na gawin. Pero yun nga, parang kailangan nating embrace yung role ng literature review. At alam dapat natin paano siya gagawin. Para yun nga, para hindi tayo sa huli magkukumahog in terms of parang adjusting our research. So good luck po sa inyong dissertation.
Thank you, Sir Cheeno. Tapos I believe, sir, no, marami tayong ito sabi nga po ni Christine Adlaon, pinakamatrabaho po talaga ang RRL. Yes. Bago mo pa simulan yung mismong experiment mo na talagang kailangan from the R. Kasi doon magsisimula, sir, na gusto ko rin po yung minention nyo po kanina na doon kasi nagsisimula yung research journey mo through your review of previous studies or related topics tungkol sa mismong topic mo. So talagang dapat comprehensive ang naging review of related literature mo. Kasi, Sir Cheeno, some students kasi they have the perception ang RRL parang compilation lang siya ng, alam niyo po yun, mga references, aminin naman o hindi, mga nagka-cut and paste lang ng mga bits and pieces of information tapos pinapatche-patche lang nila, not knowing na you have to make something out of that reference, out of the statement from a specific author. Ganun kahalaga ang RRL.
Saka parang ano kasi, yun nga, parang kagaya ng banggit ko kanina, parang ang tingin sa literature review, it's a part that you have to comply. So parang meron ka, gusto nyo iba, meron ng chapter 1, may 3, meron ng framework methodology. Pupunuan na lang yung literature review kasi required. Pero yun nga, kailangan natin i-rethink din yung perspective natin on how we see literature review.
Thank you, Sir Cheeno. Ito, sir, sabi naman po ni Eliam Mercado, very rare chance of having an expert like Sir Cheeno. Tapos, ano sabi niya? To deliver a most sought topic, flawless and spontaneous delivery. Thank you po for feeling ko, Sir Cheeno, marami po kayong fans dito kasi I think we have we have a handful po of students from Cavite State University. So may nakita
talaga.
Wow, ka-alumni ko pala si Sir.
Yes. Yan, Cavite State.
Shout out sa mga taga Cavite State.
Tama.
Ito, we have a comment naman po from Julmar Asilo. True, we should exhaust, meaning maximize all resources, not only for content volume, but more so for the substance and validation of our RRL. So I agree with you po, Sir Julmar, no? So, ano pa ba po yun? Ito, feeling ko, sir, maraming reflective moments ngayon na huwag talaga i-cram ang RRL. We should debunk that statement na that's I believe nakita niyo, sir, yung meme na yon, yung yung cannot cram the RRL, tapos yung mga nag-comment, are you challenging me? So hindi talaga pwede. So guys, tayo? Let's learn from Sir Cheeno, from the expert himself. Sabi niya, we cannot cram RRL kasi ang kalalabasan ng cram na RRL, Sir Cheeno, ay niyo po, yung parang hindi organized yung thoughts or discussion mo, and eventually magti-trickle down po yun sa buong research paper mo. So again, do not cram the RRL. Ito po, sir, we have a question from Catherine Alexi Rubio. Her question is, I have a problem with my RRLs because they are too long. Sometimes it is more lengthier than the other parts of the research, like 5 pages or more. I guess I have trouble making it more concise. Any tips for that, Sir Cheeno? By the way, I love this discussion. Sir Cheeno, your take on that talk.
Ikli nga nung 5 pages. Char. Pero siguro baka nasa parang journal format. Pero anyway, yun nga, parang ang tip ko talaga dyan, use a literature matrix. Kasi pag ang ginagawa natin, parang we write as we go, no? Parang ang dami natin nasasabi, hindi natin na-analyze muna. Pero yun nga, marami kasing mga parts na pwedeng ipag-combine, maraming mga literatures na pwedeng pagsamahin yung discussion, kasi pareho lang naman essentially yung kanilang sinasabi, no? When we combine and we analyze data, parang ang suggestion ko dyan, parang kang nag-thematic analysis, no? You've read all the literature, the research works, tapos you group them together in terms of similar themes, in terms of parang same perspectives of halimbawa, kung usapin ko na rin is technology good or bad? Kasi, sorry, ganun yung research ko, no? Pag samasamahin niyo lahat ng studies that say that technology is good, pag samasamahin niyo lahat ng studies that have some reservations about technology, about yung mga studies that offer parang a critical approach to understanding technology. So kapag nakagroup mo sila ng ganon, magkakasama na yung discussions niya. So naiiwasan yung parang per research na discussion. Pag kasi per research, sobrang dumadami talaga. Tapos paulit-ulit lang naman. Tapos sa isang tip pa, yun nga parang yung citation na by group. Kasi pag halimbawa, sige, pinagsama-sama mo naman sila sa isang paragraph, pero sabihin mo, according to this study, blah, 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 ganyan. The same concern has been expressed by another study. Edi another sentence na naman yun. Pero kung halimbawa, ginroup mo na yung citation together, using parentheses, tapos comma and semicolons lang naman yun, edi isa na lang yung discussion. Mas concise siya. Yeah.
I agree, Sir Cheeno. Thank you for adding those tips po, no? So, eto po, sir, we have another question po. Ang tanong niya, sir, is, mas advisable ba po yung format na hinihiwalay mo yung foreign literature sa local literature or pinagsasama? May ganun ba pong rules tayo sa RRL, Sir Cheeno, with regards to who published this particular literature reference po? Pinaghihiwalay ba or pinagsasama po?
Natatawa ako kasi sabi ni Pamo, yung friend ko. Sir Cheeno, hindi ka daw ba talaga nagre-write as you go? Huwag mo naman akong i-booking. Joke lang.
Ano
Pero
pala?
answer the question, actually, it's really a matter of ano ba yung parang organization style mo? Ikaw ba ay international to local or parang mas topic-based ka? Kasi kung topic-based ka, pwedeng maghalo-halo lang. Kasi parang after all, pwede rin natin sabihin na bakit natin kailangan iwalay yung local perspective? Kung pare-pareho naman tayong parang, kumbaga ay, pare-pareho tayong legitimate researchers, no? So pwede naman natin pagsamasamahin kahit saan pa yun ang galing. Pero kung ang goal mo ay to contextualize, no? So pwedeng international perspectives, pero kasi baka biglang mangyari sa Philippine local perspective, iba pala yung karanasan. So pwede mo rin siya i-group that way. Again, ang goal natin dyan, ay ang deciding factor dyan ay una, ano ba yung organization style mo? At pangalawa, ano ba yung argument mo? Kung ang argument mo ay iba yung karanasan sa local context, kailangan mo siya paghiwalayin. Pero kung iba naman yung argument mo, mas topic-based siya, hindi naman siya kailangan paghiwalayin talaga pala.
Thank you, Sir Cheeno. So it's parang case-to-case basis po. It depends on your study. If you're comparing ba with kasi kada nationality kasi they have different perspectives on a given issue or topic. So it would really depend on the focus of your study. So sir, may question po dito by Adrian Mendizabal. Although I think nasagot niyo po siya sa comment section by in using a reference manager like EndNote, Mendeley, or Zotero. So, kayo ba sir, ano pang personal ginagamit nyo? Ako po Mendeley eh. Kayo,
Ako din Mendeley kasi parang, well, for those who don't know, magandang tools tong mga to kasi parang ang gagawin mo lang ay i-upload mo lahat ng PDF doon sa Mendeley, for example. Tapos Mendeley would parang attempt to parang capture the citation information. Halimbawa, try niya i-capture mo lang sa PDF yung saka sa DOI probably yung yung title, sino yung author. Tapos check mo kung tama, no? Tapos pag tama, kapag kinapi mo yung lahat ng yon, mapapaste mo siya as bibliography. So hindi ka na mag-iisa-isa ng bibliography, no? Another way to do that, sa Microsoft Word actually, merong mga extensions, no, on proper citation na kapag sinite mo, automatic nang lalabas din yung bibliography and so on. Nakakatulong siya in terms of the logistics of things kasi sa totoo lang kapag gagawin mo na yung bibliography, ang dami niya, kasi isa-isahin mo, no? Another tip, kung gusto niyo yung mas manual, yun nga, pag sa literature matrix, yung literature part, isite niyo na siya following the citation style para pag kinapi niyo siya, isang diretso na lang din. Pero yun, maganda rin yung mga apps na ito kasi parang pwedeng doon ka na rin magbasa, mag-notes, no? Kung hindi ka mag-literature matrix, pwedeng doon ka na mag-notes. Tapos ito na yung pwede mong balik-balikan. So maganda yung mga gantong tools kung accessible siya sa inyo, kung may subscription yung mga institutions nyo. We can, parang we want all the help that we need, no, para mas maging worthwhile yung ating literature review experience.
Oo nga po, sir. Sabi nga po, di ba kanina, we maximize all available resources to help us in our research. So sir, medyo dumadami ulit ang ating mga questions and comments. Ito, sabi ni dito? Sabi ni Albert Acuña, sabi niya, thank you so much, sir. Naalala ko po noong mag-start kami mag-thesis RRL, sa RRL po talaga kami nahirapan. Lalo na po, sir, kapag walang related study. So, konti na lang magsusunog na ng kilay. So, ano ba, sir, sa tingin niyo ang pwede niyo pong additional tips dun sa mga topics na, ano po yung talagang wala masyadong nagsulat. Although I think you already presented that in your discussion po, but just to reinforce this to our participants po, what would you recommend a strategy perhaps po ng ating mga students who are pursuing a research topic with very limited related studies po?
Tingin ko kasi ang ginagawa kasi minsan ng students, parang halimbawa, kung ano mismo yung topic nila, yun yung isa-search. Diba, yun ang mismo i-google, no? Halimbawa, parang, kunwari ang study mo ay, halimbawa, transgender narratives in the Philippines or trans men narratives in the Philippines. Ito, medyo wala pa masyado. No? Pag yung mismong phrase na yon, ang sinearch mo, baka nga wala kang makita. Kaya nga parang, kailangan mo siyang hima-himayin. Halimbawa, trans men yung aralin mo. O baka pwede mo siyang gawing transgender, LGBT. Diba? So, gagawin mo siyang general ng paunti-unti. Kasi baka naman, wala pang ganong study, pero baka yung broader levels niya ang meron. Or baka naman iba yung terminology na ginagamit. So yun, when things like this happen, wherein you feel like there's really no study about the topic, I really believe that 99% of the time, you're not just exhausting the topic as much as possible. Paano natin siya gagawin? Kailangan naiintindihan mo yung topic mo or yung area of study mo. Ano ba yung aspects nito? Ano yung what constitutes this topic? Kasi baka yun yung way para himay-himayin mo. Kaya yun nga, kung wala sa Philippines, baka sa Asia, baka sa international scale meron. Pero ultimately, it's really about understanding your topic well para alam mo kung ano yung hahanapin mo at kung paano ka pupunta sa mga umbrella terms ng topic.
Thank you very much, Sir Cheeno, no? So, you really have to, himayin mo. I think po yan yung keyword dun sa ganong case. Ito nga, sabi nga ni Kat Olivero, papunta pa lang tayo sa exciting part, kaya wag mag-cram. True,
Tama.
I agree with you, Kat. No? Ito po, sir, another question from Elia Mercado. Sabi niya po, been hearing research teachers categorizing, RRL into local and foreign. I think this is parang related dun sa isang question po. RRL into local and foreign and further demanding like 20 or so for each category. Is this demand valid daw po, sir? Or parang parang depende kasi sa teacher. Pero given that main topic has such a rich literature, parang what's your take on this, sir? Yung kailangang may ganung limit na, parang ganun na, parang isa-set na number of literatures from both local and foreign.
Siguro kasi parang ginagawa yan minsan para lang kumbaga ma-challenge yung students na parang hindi ka titigil pag may nakita ka ng konti, titigil ka na nun. Kaya nagsiset din ng limits yung mga teachers na minsan. It's a way for them to encourage you to go as much as you can. Pero minsan din, parang ultimately, minsan yung mga ginagawa natin, school requirements sila. So gusto rin nila kayong tulungan in terms of parang making things a little bit easier for you. Kaya minsan, nililimit lang. Pero ang point dyan is, wala namang strict rule na parang kailangan 20 lang or kailangan not more than 20 or not less than 20 and so on. No? Una, it's an agreement between you and your teacher. Kung it's a way nga to limit and to make things easier or to help you further, parang ano ba yung parang, kumbaga, when do I stop? No? Kasi parang, syempre, at the stage of you students who are learning about research, hindi pa natin alam paano talaga tayo nag-decide on the literature or kung gaano karami na yung nababasa or dapat nating basahin. Kasi ang dami nating mga requirements. So, hindi na kayo hinihingian ng maraming. Baka, yun nga, at least 20 na practice nyo na yung art of reviewing the literature. Pero sa totoong buhay, kapag magre-research na kayo for your own parang profession or kung saan na kayo mapupunta, hindi siya nalilimit in terms of number, but nalilimit siya in terms of gaano ba natin na-exhaust yung topic? Na-cover na ba natin lahat ng bases, lahat ng indicators, lahat ng variables, na-cover ba natin? May representation ba ang ibang aspects ng story? May ng aspects ng research or ng topic? Meron na bang qualitative and quantitative perspectives? Meron bang critical lens na ino-offer yung mga nabasa mo? And so on. No? Yun talaga yung way to limit that. Pero yun nga, wag din naman natin sabihin sa teachers natin, or sabi po doon sa isang webinar na panood ko, dapat po hindi lang 20 or ganyan-ganyan. Yun naman ay way lang to facilitate the classroom requirement. No? Pero yun nga, ang limitations talaga is really about how well you understood the areas of your topic at kung sapat na ba ang naibigay ng mga nabasa nyo to prepare you for your next part of the research. Yeah.
I agree with that, Sir Cheeno, no? Kasi parang it's a way lang po for our research teachers na mapilitan ka talaga na i-exhaust lahat, na hindi ka tamarin na, okay, pipili lang ako kung ano yung maglalabas sa first 3 items sa Google or sa mga online journals. So, ako nga, sir, share ko ng experience ko, no, with my isang subject dito sa university, no, yung ating library research paper. Yun, I remember correctly. Yung aming instructor, we were required nga for 100 resources. Ako ay search for 100 resources on solid waste management. So talagang nagbabad ako sa library Pero ang explanation sa akin ng teacher ko, and eventually, I was only able to use around like 15 sources for my actual research paper. So talagang it's just a way for you to exhaust all references, explore all the possible perspectives ng topic mo. So baka kasi minsan may makaligtaan ka or minsan, ay ba hindi ko to nasama sa discussion ko, substantive pa naman. So I think that's one of the goals po talaga, sir, na kung bakit hanggat mare we set na ganitong number of literature. Kasi eventually, sir, hindi naman kasi lahat yun kunyari, sa isang 100-page na journal article, ang mapipick up mo lang dyan can be like 3 sentences. Parang ganun lang yung pwede mo mapick up dun. As short as that. So, you just really have to, actually, mas maganda nga, sir, I don't know if you would agree with me, na mas marami kang nabasa. Kasi mas marami kang masasabi sa research paper mo throughout your discussion, no, sir. Thank you po.
I agree.
Ito naman po, sir. Another question po from Kev Takula. I think we have last two more questions po. Ang question niya po is, hi sir, for finding the gap in literature review, can I step in on a study that has not been conducted in our domestic country? For example, a topic only has international research. Can I also conduct the same topic if it is not been studied here in our country? Ano pong take niyo doon, Sir Cheeno?
Kumbaga, parang nagawa na siya elsewhere, tapos i-apply mo sa...
Apo.
Actually, pwede yun kasi parang yung justification mo na parang, hindi pa siya nagagawa sa Philippine context and that's what I plan to do in my study. So okay yun. Kasi parang kumbaga, kaya nga tayo nag-literature review para malaman natin, ano ba yung nagawa na sa iba at hindi pa nagagawa dito. So pwede mo siyang i-apply. Pero ang kailangan mong gawin dyan, kailangan ay respectful ka in parang citing. Kung i-apply mo yung sariling, bawa, i-apply mo yung kanyang survey questionnaires or i-apply mo yung framework niya and method niya, talagang explicitly mo sabihin na parang, this study is based from this reference talaga. Cite mo siya para alam kasi gano'n naman din talaga yung nature ng research, no? Yung kailangan pwede talaga siyang i-replicate at valid naman yung replication process as long as transparent ka in the process.
Very true po, Sir Cheeno. At medyo maging kagaya po yung sa mga last tips niyo po, no? Be careful when you make claims na ikaw yung nauna dito sa topic na or sa study na ito, no? So always acknowledge other studies or you must have really strong support na pang-support the statement mo na ikaw yung magpo-pursue ng study na ito. Ito po, sir, for our last question po. According to Jason Iglos, ang question niya po is, I would like to ask if there are other applications or methods perhaps that we can use in doing our literature matrix aside from Excel. Thank you, sir.
Yun nga, parang ako, Excel ginagamit ko kasi kapag sa Word kasi ang hirap naman i-manage ng tables. No? Pero yun nga, I suggest that you use third-party apps like yon yung Mendeley kasi doon meron talaga silang part for notes, no, pwede mong i-highlight yung text na gusto mong gamitin, yung citations andoon na rin, no. So yun yung pwede mong gamitin. Kapag naman gumamit ka ng for example Google Sheets, ano siya, parang internet dependent siya. So baka mahirapan ka rin doon. Yun, pero ultimately it's really a matter of what works for you in terms of organizing ideas. Yung iba kasi parang mas gusto pa rin yung pen and paper na method na doon gusto nila isulat yung mga nakuha nila. Yun, depende sa'yo kung ano yung parang style mo in parang reading and analyzing materials that you have read.
So babalik din po talaga, sir, yung tanong doon sa researcher kung ano yung mas bet mo na strategy. Ako, sir, minsan mas prefer ko pa rin yung note cards, yung sa ano natin, sir, yung ginagawa po natin sa index card. Kasi ako personally, mas nadadigest ko yung literature kapag naka-note cards siya. So, ayun. I guess that's all for our questions, Sir Cheeno. So siguro po, sir, any last few words po for our participants in bringing their wit and grit para sa kanilang lit review? Sige po, Sir Cheeno.
Yun, of course, thank everyone for parang posing questions and for engaging at least remotely in our engagement today. Siguro ang payo ko na lang, yun nga, parang i-embrace natin yung role ng literature review in the research process. No? Again, if we are, sa simula pa lang ng research process ay kumbaga masipag na tayo and open na tayo to many possibilities and perspectives, mas magiging worthwhile yung product ng research output natin. Research is actually a fun thing to do because, yun nga, as I have said, it's a way for you to understand the world and understand yourself also. Pero kasabay nun, marami siyang mga hamon and challenges at requirement natin siya as people in the academe. So, good luck sa inyong mga research projects and sana marami tayong napulot dito sa session natin na magagamit talaga natin in our own project. Yun lang po.
Thank you very much. There you have it, guys. Our resource speaker for this morning session on literature review, Dr. Cheeno Marlo M. Sayuno. Now, hashtag Team LRC would like to take this opportunity to thank our speaker for his valuable time. So to award the certificate of appreciation, may I kindly recognize in the Zoom space our director, Assistant Professor John Mervin L. Embate. So let me first read the citation, the certificate. University of the Philippines, Los Baños Learning Resource Center presents the Certificate of Appreciation to Cheeno Marlo M. Sayuno for serving as resource speaker during the webinar series, Research is Life, How to Ace Your Research Paper. In the fourth session entitled, Put Your Grit and Wit to That Lit, Best Strategies in Literature Review, held today, April 28, 2022, at the Learning Resource Center, UPLB College Laguna, signed by John Mervin L. Embate, Director of LRC. Sir JM.
Thank you very much, Josh. And of course, thank you, Dr. Cheeno, for spending your morning with us today. No? Ang dami nating nakuha na mga very practical tips on how to write our RRL. But at the same time, nakakita rin tayo dito or nakakuha rin tayo ng mga valuable na mga tips kung paano nga ba natin dapat sipatin yung mga sources natin at kung paano natin sila gagamitin. Pag nakaka-encounter talaga ako ng RRL, unlike ko naalala si Dr. Hernan Paragas, na advisor ni Sir Cheeno and now the Dean of the College of Mass Communication in UP Diliman, who was also one of my mentors when I was taking my master's degree. Lagi niyang sinasabi sa amin, an RRL is not an annotated bibliography. So very thankful ako kay Sir Cheeno for bringing that into the discussion today, no? Na yung RRL natin hindi lang siya compilation ng mga related literature na nakita natin. Dapat meron tayong ino-argue, meron tayong kini-claim, no? Kaya ang ganda na na-experience natin yung pagsulat ng RRL kasi hinahasa din ito, hindi lang yung ating data gathering skills, yung pag-research natin online and in the library, but at the same time yung analytical and critical thinking skills natin. Kasi natututunan natin kung paano nga ba makita yung similarities, kung saan yung point of convergence ng mga literature at yung point of divergence nila, kung saan sila hindi nagkakatugma-tugma. At kapag nakita natin yung point of convergence and divergence na yon, mas madali sa atin as researchers na i-locate kung nasaan tayo doon sa gap ng existing literature natin, no? Saka another tip lang din, no, na nakuha ko from Sir Cheeno, yung pagkiklaim natin na parang no research has been conducted about this. Kasi ayan din yung mga common errors din ng mga advices ko, no, na parang paano ka magkiklaim na wala pang na-conduct na research about this? So sobrang exhaustive ba nung research mo? Nasuyod mo ba lahat ng library sa buong mundo? Maaring hindi. So very careful din siguro tayo, no, doon sa pagkiklaim natin or when we make assertions in the RRL. At the same time, no, very timely ito naging discussion ni Sir Cheeno. Una, kasi it complements kung ano yung naging topic natin with Doc Maan last Tuesday, no, kung how do we make good use of our library resources and the programs and services that the UPLB main library has in store for us. So sana makita ng mga UPLB students in particular kung paano nga ba natin magagamit yung resources natin sa library at kung paano natin siya itatranslate into the RRL that we are writing. Second, no, malapit na yung election. So maganda na ma-practice din natin, no, doon sa very everyday practical lives natin, yung skills na supposedly ay hino-hone sa atin ng pagko-conduct ng RRL. Paano nga ba natin titingnan na credible ba 'tong resource na 'to? Kasi kapag nag-RRL ka, 'di ba Sir Cheeno, nag-a-apply din dito yung practice natin ng validation or triangulation. Kasi ang daming mga references na unfortunately ay hindi sila credible kahit na seemingly ay mukha silang published when we access them online, no? Ano nga yung tawag natin doon? Pwede ko bang sabihin dito? Sila yung mga type of, sige Sir Chino. Ay, hindi na. Sila yung mga type of journals, no, na hindi credible pero they seem as if na okay sila. So tayo bilang mga researchers, kailangan careful din tayo kung ano nga ba yung uri ng references na sinasite natin. So kahit na yung mga references natin, dapat kilatisin din natin kung siya nga ba ay verified, siya nga ba ay nag-undergo ng thorough review process, at bine-vet din ba siya ng ibang mga literature. So ang ganda-ganda nung tip na sinabi ni Sir Chino kanina about referencing, no? Kapag nagbabasa tayo ng mga journal articles, tingnan natin yung mga references, kung ano yung mga pinanggalingan niya na references. Kasi first, it opens up the other world of literature na pwede nating i-explore. But at the same time, nakikita din natin kung ano nga ba yung mga references na nag-cite doon sa reference na binabasa or sinusulat natin. Na kung mataas yung level of citation niya, meron tayong confidence, no, na paniwalaan na tama, accurate yung sinasabi niya. So with that, no, Sir Chino, maraming na-inspire na mga viewers natin ngayon, at gusto ko lang din i-echo yung resounding gratitude ng mga tao on our Facebook Live right now. Maraming salamat po for the opportunity. Maraming salamat for being with us and for sharing your knowledge and expertise. So we wish you the best of luck on your own research endeavors, Sir Chino, no? At sa lahat po ng mga viewers natin, contact lang po natin si Sir Chino kung meron tayong mga questions with regard to writing the RRL. So again, maraming salamat, Sir Chino.
Thank you very much, Sir JM. And thank you once again, Sir Chino, our passionate speaker, for this morning session. Now, for the evaluation of our session 4, please do not forget to answer the evaluation form after the webinar to receive your e-certificate of attendance. So your comments and suggestions will be deeply appreciated by our team, #TeamLRC. So the evaluation link is being shown right now on your screen. I also placed it and pinned it in the comment section. Kindly access it right away. So sa ating mga teachers, you may want to take a screenshot and send it to your students po. So please be reminded that the deadline of responses is only until 10 p.m. tonight to give our system enough time to reset before the next session. So we hope that we all gain inspirations and valuable insights from our speaker this morning. Now, counting reminders lang po for our next session. Nakaka-4 sessions na po tayo. 4 down and many more to go. So join us in our next session on Tuesday entitled You Got It, Mainstreaming Gender and Development in Research. So we'll be talking naman how do we integrate gender and development sa ating mga research and possible topics for our research topics that we can venture when it comes to gender and development. Diba? So we are very fortunate that we will be having Dr. Julian Y. Baldo Cubelo of the Department of Communication Research, College of Masscom of UP Diliman as our resource speaker on Tuesday. So we invite you kung hindi pa po kayo nakakapag-register. I'm sorry, this is on May 2, Monday po pala. Let me correct that po kasi May 3 is a holiday if I'm not mistaken. So this would be on Monday, May 2 for our 5th session on You Got It. Okay? So kung di pa po kayo nakakapag-register, please do so. The registration link is being shown on your screen with the QR code. Okay. So at this point, we would like to recognize and thank our team, #TeamLRC, and the Research is Life team, headed by our director, Sir J.M. Embate, with the support of our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Dr. Janet H. Malata Silva. On our technical side is our Project Development Associate, Ms. Ana Margarita Palma. And a big shout out to Team LRC's members, Ms. Cheryl Hermosa Ebron and Ms. Alan Limangente, and Mr. Elmer Balatin. And a big thank you once again to Sir Cheeno, our very passionate speaker for this morning. So to end, let me share with you my thoughts from this session. So your literature review is not and should not just be a compilation of studies related to your research. It's not just a bunch of citations from books and journals that you have read. Your lit review should be a substantial element of your study because it will help summarize your insights and the findings of previous studies in order for you to utilize them as the baseline data for your own research. Likewise, it will also help you in establishing the importance and giving justice to why you should pursue your study. So hashtag research is life. So thank you very much everyone for joining us. Stay hopeful, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye and happy weekend po sa ating lahat. Thank you.